That morning, Laken Riley, a 22-year-old nursing student at Augusta University in Georgia, decided to go for a run like any other. She left her house, carrying her phone and the familiar excitement of a trail near her dorm. No one expected that, just a few minutes later, her smartwatch would record the last moments of her life, a struggle between life and death, and then her heart stopped beating. Laken Riley was not the victim of an accident. She was being hunted. And that predator, Jose Ibarra, was not a stranger passing by. He was purposeful, prepared, and he had chosen her. Back to the morning of February 22, 2024, around 9 a.m., Laken began her usual jogging journey. She kept a steady pace, her heart beating faster, in keeping with the intensity of her exercise. But then suddenly, her heart rate dropped sharply, then stopped. She stopped, and within seconds, her phone started flashing an SOS, a silent 911 call, just breathing, and a few broken sounds. Then silence. Soon after, the Garmin data showed that Laken's heart stopped completely at 9:28 a.m. Her body was moved about 65 feet off the trail, deep into the Oconee woods. It all happened in 4 minutes, a normal morning, a safe trail, and a brutal murder that silenced the nation. Just a few hours later, Laken's roommates, who considered her part of the family, began to notice something was wrong. She didn't come home on time. Texts went unanswered. They checked the Find My iPhone location, something the group shared. And then they found Laken standing there for hours in the woods behind the school, not moving. Around 11:30, two friends, Sophia and Lily, decided to go looking. They followed Laken's running trail, their steps getting heavier. And then they saw an AirPod lying on the grass. Next to it, a hair clip. All of them belonged to Laken. The worst feeling was coming true. They immediately called the police. Campus security was dispatched to the scene at 12:38 p.m. And then, after less than an hour of searching, they found Laken Riley's body, hidden under dead leaves, about 60 feet from the trail. Her face was covered in blood. Her head had been crushed. Her neck had been strangled. There was no heartbeat. There was no hope. A few hours later, as investigators were piecing together footage from cameras around the campus, they began to see a suspicious man, walking around the running area multiple times, wearing a black hat, a black hoodie, and kitchen gloves. He didn't talk to anyone. He didn't go anywhere with any apparent purpose. He just observed. It didn't take long for the police to identify him, Jose Antonio Ibarra, 26, originally from Venezuela. And then things started to unravel. Jose had been arrested multiple times in Texas, New York, and Georgia, for misdemeanors, traffic violations, and petty theft. But he was always released. Why? Because he was an undocumented immigrant. He had been arrested at the border and released. No one was watching. No one was watching. And finally, he killed someone. When the police searched Jose's apartment, they found a jacket identical to the one on the surveillance video, dumped in a dumpster near his house. On the jacket, they found Laken Riley's hair and DNA from both men. Every little detail that closed in, from the blood, to the fingerprints, to the scratches on Jose's hands, all fit into a struggle. The girl fought back. She refused to be a victim. Laken fought back. She called 911. She screamed. She left evidence. But in the end, evil was stronger. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications if you want to continue following this heartbreaking case. Laken Riley's story should not be forgotten. She deserves to be remembered forever. There are quite a few security cameras in the area near the crime scene, the University of Georgia campus. When investigators reviewed the footage on the morning of February 22, 2024, they found a man repeatedly appearing around the running track. He was wearing a black hat, a dark jacket, and kitchen-style nylon gloves, all unusual, especially in the warm Georgia weather. What caught their attention the most, he didn't talk to anyone, walked around for over an hour, and just stared at the trail. From that video, the police tracked him to the apartment complex near the university, where Jose Antonio Ibarra, a 26-year-old immigrant from Venezuela, lived. He lived with his brother Diego, also an undocumented immigrant. Here, security cameras recorded Jose throwing a black jacket into the trash just hours after the murder. The police immediately searched the trash, collected the jacket, and sent it for testing. The results were breathtaking. The jacket had Laken Riley's hair on it. DNA from both Laken and Jose was found. Jose's fingerprints were also found on the screen of Laken's phone, which had been left in the woods not far from the crime scene. The data from Laken's Garmin watch was a crucial part of the investigation. It recorded, start of run at 9 a.m., steady increase in speed and heart rate, until 9:10 a.m., when speed dropped to 0. SOS was activated from the phone about 10 seconds later. Heart rate gradually decreased and stopped at 9:28 and 23 seconds a.m. Laken struggled for about 4 minutes, an incredibly long time for a young woman and a predator. According to forensics, she was hit multiple times in the head with a rock, then strangled to death. Another detail that made investigators shudder, Jose's DNA was found under Laken's fingernails, apparently from a fierce struggle. The scratches on Jose's body also matched the nail marks. As one police officer described them, the scratches were wet, like they had been scratched. When he moved, I saw the fluid in the wound glistening in the light. Jose Ibarra's file reveals a controversial fact. He illegally crossed the border into Texas in September 2022. He was arrested but released into the U.S. with a request to appear later. He had been arrested 3 times in Texas, once in New York for child endangerment, once in Georgia for shoplifting at a Walmart. He was never detained or deported. After being kicked out of New York for immigration overload, Jose, on the city's advice, flew to Georgia to start over. He lives in Athens, renting an apartment near the university, just a few minutes' walk from the trail. The place where he lives has no fence, no cameras, but it is right next to the Laken trail he runs on. No one knew Laken's habits better than her close friends who lived with her. They knew what time she ran, which way she went, what she carried. They also shared Find My iPhone location 24/7, a small action that saved the entire investigation. That's why when they saw Laken standing still in the woods for too long without any sign of movement, they didn't hesitate. They went out to check it themselves, found AirPods and hair clips, signs that something was wrong. They called the police, giving them directions on where to look, and sure enough, Laken's body was found right near that location. When questioned, Jose appeared clueless. But he had scratches on his body, fresh wounds, clearly caused by fingernails. Forensics confirmed the injuries were consistent with Laken's attempt at self-defense. When the apartment was searched, police found blood-stained clothing, disposable gloves, and the same jacket he had been wearing that day. With the victim's DNA, cameras showed him walking back and forth in front of the girls' dormitory for an hour. A witness said he had seen Jose peeking through the window, trying to open the apartment door while she was showering, the morning of the murder. Unable to open the door, he left and headed for the trail on May 8. 2024, Jose Ibarra was indicted by a Clark County grand jury on 10 counts, including premeditated murder, murder during the commission of a felony, false imprisonment, aggravated assault. The trial began on November 15, 2024. Ibarra waived a jury trial, opting to let the judge decide. The prosecution presented strong evidence: DNA, fingerprints, surveillance video, eyewitness identification, Garmin data, clearly showing the time Laken was attacked. The wound on Jose's hand matched the victim's resistance. The defense tried to raise doubts, saying the evidence was circumstantial, that it could have been his brother Diego, who had connections to the Venezuelan gang. But the enhanced video clearly showed Jose was the one wearing the jacket that day. He threw it away, leaving the pockets and clothes behind. If he was innocent, why did he do that? On November 20, 2024, Judge Patrick Haggard pronounced the sentence: malice murder, life without parole. The murder of Laken Riley was more than a conviction. It became a political earthquake, a heated debate about immigration policy, and most of all, a reminder that a college student with dreams lost his life to a broken system. As Judge Patrick Haggard sentenced Jose Ibarra to life without parole, Laken's family wept in the courtroom. They knew that no sentence would be enough to bring back their daughter, their friend, their sister. But this was the maximum justice the law could provide. Laken's family spoke in court, sharing their grief. Her mother, Allison Phillips, tearfully said, "My daughter was not just a victim. She was a light, a source of strength for our family. And now, a symbol of a nation that needs to wake up." The defense attorney, meanwhile, tried to get a conditional life sentence, arguing that Ibarra still has value in reintegrating into society. But the judge flatly rejected it. When someone plans, prepares gloves, stalks a victim, and brutally murders, there is no room for mercy. The Laken Riley case has spread beyond the University of Georgia campus. When it was revealed that Jose Ibarra was an illegal immigrant who had been arrested multiple times but not deported, the nation was shocked. In the 2024 election year, the name Laken Riley became the center of controversy over immigration policy in the United States. At the State of the Union, Georgia Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene shouted in the hall, "Say her name! Say her name." Incumbent President Joe Biden responded by wearing a badge with the name Laken Riley, a mispronunciation of the victim's name, causing public outrage. Immediately, Donald Trump, the Republican presidential candidate, spoke out harshly. "We love Laken. Her family belongs to us forever. This is why we need to tighten our borders immediately. People like Jose Ibarra should not be allowed to set foot in the United States." Less than a month after Laken's death, the U.S. House of Representatives passed the Laken Riley Act with 251 votes in favor, requiring the mandatory detention of illegal immigrants arrested for criminal offenses. Although it was not passed in the Senate at the time, the law became a political signature. One of the most prominent immigration bills of the election season, Laken's name is no longer just a tombstone or a news story, it is tied to a new chapter in national politics. In the midst of this political turmoil, the Riley family chose to move toward the light. On March 1, 2024, Laken's funeral was held at Woodstock City Church. Hundreds of people attended, friends, teachers, and strangers moved by her story. People lit candles. They hugged each other in tears. A sea of flowers was placed next to a photo of Laken in her white lab coat, a symbol of her unfulfilled dream of becoming a nurse. She was buried in Enon Cemetery, near where she was born. The family established the Laken Hope Riley Foundation, a charity that aims to provide scholarships for medical students, support women's advocacy organizations, promote school safety. The foundation's website quickly received tens of thousands of dollars in donations, from both people who knew and those who had never met Laken. Each message carried the same message: although we did not know her, she inspired us to be better. The area near Lake Herrick, where Laken was murdered, has become an unofficial memorial site. People who passed by left behind white wreaths, cards that read, "Run for Laken," and photos of the young girl running, her eyes filled with hope. Some Georgia students even organized a memorial run on Laken's birthday, turning their grief into positive action. Although her life was taken, Laken Riley's voice continues to resonate, through the law, through changing perceptions, and through the love of those she left behind, Laken's friends, including her best friend from her house, often speak of her as if she were still alive. We still put out dinner bowls for her every holiday. We still hang up the white blouse she wore. The wounds left by this case will be difficult to heal, but within them, a new source of strength is being born. Laken Riley, a 22-year-old runner who dreamed of becoming a nurse, had everything taken from her one peaceful morning. But her last-minute courage and shocking death woke up a nation. She was more than a victim. She was a symbol of justice, of change, and of hope. Laken fought until the end. And now, we will continue to fight for her. Allison Phillips, Laken's mother.